Right now, though, Alan Kelly is back. Alan is the CEO, founder of Playmaker Systems, plays for the presidency, which is plays2run.com with the numeral 2 in there. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim. Good to be back.
Let's talk war. Let's go
sure.
to war. It's a wake up on a Friday and think, what do we do this weekend? Let's talk war. The reason I bring that up is because you have this cute little chart today. I say cute. But it's interesting. You've got a square here, and you've got arrayed on each of the sides various groups. I guess they're sort of massed like troops, and there's a battlefield inside, but I'm kind of wondering exactly where they're going on this.
Well, I teach a class at the George Washington University Graduate School of Political Management, which is a mouthful. And one of the things that we do in that class is that we adopt the Department of Defense Convention for wargaming, usually, as they would say, kinetic wargaming.
There's nothing like Whopper in the war games, right?
No.
Greetings, Professor Falcon. Would you like to play a game?
Yes, no. This is more manual, and it's real. It's in the classroom setting. It's a very hands-on exercise. So we adopt this convention of a four-sided game where we have blue. Blue is always, the good guys. We have red, not always the bad guys. Green are collaborators or allies, and
this has nothing to do with political parties, right? It just
no, that's
okay.
right.
Okay.
It works out though very, very elegantly for political parties, particularly if you want to have Democrats playing blue. And then the fourth party is white. Where you have independents like fence sitters, and so what we did is that this class, which is on influence strategy. We thought a very good topic to get our arms around, because it's coming, would be the Supreme Court decision on the Affordable Care Act. And so we enlisted a couple of professors and then the rest of the class to come in and sit in and take places as actual people and to imitate them. And to give you some examples, we had a professor playing Mitt Romney on the red team. We had students playing in the green with representing the American Bar Association, or let's say the American Medical Association. We had students representing or imitating reporters at the Politico, or a blog called the Healthcare Blog. Obviously, we had a student playing Barack Obama. We had Eric Holder in there on the blue team.
Someone playing Eric Holder.
Yes. He did
I didn't
not
say
come.
He didn't come for the class. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a busy man,
He's very busy. He should be conducting his own war games. At any rate, this is a very nice way of predicting or anticipating the outcomes of influence-based things. And you know that the plays that are going to ensue from the Supreme Court decision are going to be fast and furious. I had to do that, ka-ching. And we're going to see quite a lot of activity no matter how the decision comes down.
Let me ask you, you've laid it out here again with the four sides. On one side, you have the American Bar Association, Health Insurance Plan, American Medical Association.
They're somewhat in the middle. They're allies or collaborators.
And another side, you have Mitt Romney, John Boehner, Speaker of the House, Ken Cuccinelli, Attorney General of Virginia, brought one of the big cases to the court. Another side, you have sort of the media, I guess, Healthcare Blog, Politico, Wall Street Journal.
That's right.
And then you have the other side, the fourth side, the President, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Attorney General. So I'm assuming then that each of the sides represents relative allies, correct?
Each of the four sides,
or at least coinciding interests.
Well, each of those players on each of those teams have relatively coinciding interests.
Okay.
By far the most contiguous or collected team that should have the most command and control would be blue in this case.
And that's Barack Obama, the Health and Human Services Secretary, and the Attorney General.
Those are the people that
because he actually has
him.
control, exactly.
That's right. Though in our past conversations about surrogates, we know that's not necessarily always true.
Well, it's a difference between being a surrogate and being an employee.
That's right. Well, the business of influence and the notion of strategy and what we call running plays can be used to put together with the idea of wargaming, so you can start to say, okay, well, if the decision comes down and it's X, what might happen? Right. And you enlist people in these roles. If the decision comes down as Y, well, what might happen? So what we did with having somewhat limited time, just the period of one class and one lecture worth, was we did two scenarios. One where the Supreme Court upheld everything with the Affordable Care Act, including the mandate. The second game that we ran was where they upheld the Affordable Care Act, but they threw out the mandate.
Mm-hmm.
We did not do a third scenario where they threw out everything. We just didn't have time. We felt, in fact, based at the time, that would be less likely. Maybe or maybe not. That's still the case. So
don't feel bad, by the way, if you get it wrong, because frankly, I had constitutional attorneys a year and a half, 2 years ago saying there's no way this is going to the Supreme Court.
Well, let me read from you a quote from Greg LaBelle, who played Mitt Romney, and Greg is not exactly on the right side of the aisle, but he did a good job. And he said ultimately, he says, confusion about Affordable Care Act will reign on both sides for at least a little while. Americans really don't know what they think about health care reform and Obamacare, so to speak, so they won't know what they think about the court's decision. Messaging wars will be frantic. That was Greg's basic bottom line on this, and his takeaway, having gone through rounds and rounds of these two particular games, is that it will be a political football. I think clearly one of the students felt that what the big winners here would be the media. We will have
plenty to talk about. You're feeding the machine.
We are feeding the machine, but I don't think it's going to be quite so conclusive on either side. Particularly if they come in and they split the baby. They say we uphold the law, but we don't uphold the mandate. That will bring chaos.
Legally, that does not undo the law, but in actuality and for all practicality, it does, because it removes the funding mechanism.
That's right.
So this is going to be one of the
right.
Well, and from your business, crisis management. There are people out there who are lobbyists or whatever that have 7 different memos ready to go. We played a little bit this morning. Richard Murdoch, who's a Republican candidate for senator in Indiana, he has 4 videos that somehow made it up online. He pulled them down, but not before Talking Points memo picked them up. Alternative messages that he would deliver depending on what the court did.
And he would have been, I was listening to that, and he could have been in our classroom, and he could have been playing on the red team, because the things that he said are almost carbon copies of what was said or represented by some of the people who were playing Boehner or Cuccinelli or much less Romney. Now, Romney, of course, is interesting because he's kind of got duct tape on his mouth no matter how the decision comes down, because he can be judged to be sort of complicit in this. He can't really set himself apart. So he has to rely very, very heavily on his surrogates to take advantage, to spin or to position or deposition or reposition.
Well, he has the greatest challenge, does he not? Because he is trying to say something that is bad, that was birthed based on the template of the healthcare program in Massachusetts. He's trying to embrace a decision that will say that the federal version of that is no good, although the state version he says was good for his state.
That's interesting. I would say that transactionally he has a very big problem. He's got to finesse this whole thing. He has to run the right plays.
And as we know how well finesse works on a bumper sticker, the word fits, but not the concept.
Good. But I think surely Obama has the bigger problem. Unless this decision goes all in his favor, then he's got a real mess to contend with. I just don't see that is anything but really quite bad for him. That was
his signature achievement is undone. He's proven as a constitutional lawyer that he either doesn't know his business or he ignored the signs of danger.
That's right, and he can be accused also of lobbying the justices just after they held their hearings and went into their decision-making mode. That was a very interesting set of plays that he ran in sort of a public sort of form of lobbying. So, unless it goes all his way, I don't think this is good at all. Now, what will he do if it doesn't go all his way? I think he's going to run and roll out all sorts of distraction devices. He may get on his airplane and go do something, quote, more important or really important. Let's say he might go to the Middle East again. He might get involved in a larger issue that has I don't know, maybe it has nuclear somehow.
It's going to be hard to paint over this particular black mark on the wall,
and he will try to distract, and he'll try to own the news cycle in another direction. I'm not sure he can, but he will try.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it turns out. This is fascinating, and for those who want to find it, plays2run.com with the numeral 2. As always, thank you for the war game strategy. Next time wear the uniform and we can do it more formally, and maybe we'll do something on YouTube. But Alan, always thanks.
See you next week.